Welcome to Hong Kong Brief. The content of the briefing includes: Singapore home sales fall to lowest in 15 years as market cools. Ways to beat bad luck predictions in Year of the Dragon 2024, 5 weekend reads. Trump holds big lead over rivals, but extreme cold a wild card in Iowa vote. Hong Kong stocks extend slide as China dents rate cut hopes, Taiwan firms slip. China's women claim sevens title in Dubai, Hong Kong teams struggle. Singapore home sales fall to lowest in 15 years as market cools. Bloomberg. Private home sales in Singapore fell to their lowest level in 15 years in 2019, with just 6,671 units sold by developers. The decline is attributed to housing curbs and a weakening economy. The government's doubling of housing purchase taxes for foreigners in April 2019 has hit external demand, while a sizable pipeline of about 44 projects is expected to further weigh on developers' margins this year. Despite the slowdown in sales, home prices in Singapore rose 6.7% in 2019, according to preliminary estimates. Analysts are divided on price trends for 2020, with predictions ranging from a 3% drop to a 4 to 5% gain. Ways to beat bad luck predictions in Year of the Dragon 2024, 5 weekend reads. South China Morning Post. The article provides a summary of various news stories from last weekend. The topics covered include the recent Taiwan election and the potential tensions it may cause with Beijing, ways to avoid bad luck predictions in the Year of the Dragon 2024, a motorbike tour in Tibet, Filipinos' reactions to comedian Joe Coy's Golden Globes fiasco, and the continued interest of Hong Kongers in shopping at Costco in Shenzhen. Trump holds big lead over rivals, but extreme cold a wild card in Iowa vote. South China Morning Post. The Republican presidential nomination race began on Monday with the Iowa caucuses, the first major test of whether frontrunner Donald Trump can beat out rivals Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. Trump has a commanding lead in polls and is expected to win the Midwestern states' first in the nation vote easily. However, voters may have to brave minus 42 degrees Celsius temperatures, potentially affecting turnout. Trump, Haley, and DeSantis were all forced to cancel appearances in the home stretch of campaigning due to the extreme weather conditions. Hong Kong stocks extend slide as China dents rate cut hopes, Taiwan firms slip. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong stocks fell for the second consecutive week after China's central bank decided to keep a key policy lending rate unchanged for the fifth month in a row. The Hang Seng Index fell 0.6% to 16,151.45, while the Tech Index slumped 1.9% and the Shanghai Composite Index retreated 0.2%. The People's Bank of China maintained its one-year policy rate on medium-term lending facilities at 2.5%, against market expectations of a cut similar to one made in August. China's women claim sevens title in Dubai, Hong Kong teams struggle. South China Morning Post. China's women's rugby sevens team won the first leg of this year's Challenger Series in Dubai, defeating Kenya 19-5 in the final. The Chinese team dominated the competition, gaining revenge for their loss to Kenya in the pool stage. Kenya's men also won gold, defeating Chile 12-5 in a hard-fought final. Hong Kong's men finished seventh after defeating Georgia 38-0. However, Hong Kong's women lost 31-0 to Papua New Guinea in the ninth-place playoff. The next leg of the Challenger Series will take place in Montevideo, Uruguay, in March. China developer Logan may face liquidation petition from banks. Bloomberg. Logan Group Co.'s bank creditors may ask a Hong Kong court to liquidate two key units of the Chinese developer, replacing a group of dollar bond holders who seek to drop the case, dealing a fresh setback for the distressed firm. The bank's lawyer said Logan hasn't provided information requested. Baidu dives most since 2022 after report links AI to China's PLA. Bloomberg. Baidu's stock fell over 10% after a report suggested its Ernie AI platform had been linked to Chinese military research on artificial intelligence, AI. The report by the South China Morning Post stated that the People's Liberation Army Strategic Support Force had established a physical link with Baidu's Ernie, raising concerns that the U.S. may impose sanctions on the company. However, it is unclear what this alleged link entails, and Baidu has not provided any comment on the matter. Baidu's Ernie platform, which debuted in 2023, has gained popularity and amassed 70 million users within 3 months of its release. Chinese spy was set to get UK visa before being deported, says whistleblower. Bloomberg. A compliance officer at a closed London brokerage has claimed he was ordered to obtain a visa for an employee who later turned out to be a Chinese spy. The allegations were detailed in a whistleblower suit brought by Bharat Bhagani, who said he was fired for blocking the appointment of 2 directors. Bhagani also claimed to have made complaints to the Financial Conduct Authority, FCA, regarding money laundering suspicions. A tribunal ruling found that Bhagani had been given the information by UK authorities and that it was reasonable for him to believe it. Golden Way Global Investments, the brokerage in question, has since closed its licensed business and changed its name to Leading Globe Technology. Hong Kong boss Anderson fumes over VAR, proud of team's Asian Cup display. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong coach Jorn Anderson criticized match officials after his side's AFC Asian Cup defeat to the United Arab Emirates. The UAE were awarded 2 penalties in a 3-1 victory, while a late Hong Kong goal was disallowed. Anderson said that the penalties would not have been given in European football, and suggested that the officials showed bias against his side. Despite the result, Hong Kong impressed in their first Asian Cup appearance since 1968. China's central bank holds key rate steady in policy surprise. Bloomberg. China's central bank, the People's Bank of China, PBOC, has held its key interest rate steady at 2.5% and injected 995 billion yuan, $139 billion, into the financial system. This is contrary to expectations that the PBOC would cut borrowing costs in order to support the economy. Recent data has indicated faltering growth momentum in the country, with exports falling annually for the first time since 2016 and financing and loan growth missing expectations. The PBOC took steps in December to support the economy, but more measures are expected, including a cut to the reserve requirement ratio. Wall Street banks are trying not to upset China on listings. Financial Times. Wall Street's biggest banks are being more careful not to upset Beijing in the prospectus documents for overseas IPOs of Chinese companies, following new regulations introduced by Beijing last year. The changes mean that banks are toning down their language when warning investors about risks associated with China. The shift in tone has raised concerns about Hong Kong's status as an international financial center, with some questioning whether U.S. firms can still put together prospectus filings without risking disparaging China. Distressed builder Logan Group vows to cut debt amid $8 billion workout plan. South China Morning Post. Chinese developer Logan Group has committed to reducing its debt by $2.6 billion to $3 billion as part of its restructuring plan, following approval from offshore creditors and its controlling owner. The Shenzhen-based firm will generate $65 billion to $75 billion of revenue from onshore property sales during the restructuring period and raise $4 billion to $4.7 billion of cash to service its debts, it said. Logan Group will offer a mix of cash, convertible bonds, and new long-term notes to repay investors holding its 12 foreign currency bonds with a total face value of $6.65 billion. 100 Hong Kong dollars ultramarathon set to test 3,000 runners over 103 kilometers, 56 kilometers, and 33 kilometers. South China Morning Post. over 3,000 amateur and elite runners will take part in the Anta Hong Kong 100 Hong Kong dollars ultramarathon, which will kickstart the inaugural World Trail Majors this week. The event will feature men's and women's 103 km trail races, as well as smaller versions of the race. The World Trail Majors is made up of 9 races, including the Anta 100 Hong Kong dollars, the Madeira Island Ultra Trail, the Black Canyon Ultras, the North Face Transgran Canaria, and the Swiss Canyon Trail, among others. Hong Kong startups attract interest from Microsoft, Best Buy at CES 2024. South China Morning Post. Microsoft and Best Buy have shown interest in Hong Kong startups at the Consumer Electronics Show, CES 2022. The Hong Kong pavilion saw significant interest this year, with 20 startups exhibiting compared to just 8 last year. Startups such as AI-guided and Invisible Tech have attracted attention from major companies. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella visited the Tech Hong Kong pavilion and expressed interest in AI-guided's belt, which helps guide the blind. The increased interest in Hong Kong startups at CES may help the city establish itself as a tech hub. The music industry needs a new growth story. Bloomberg. Major corporations across the technology, finance, and media sectors have announced significant job cuts in recent weeks. Companies such as Amazon, Alphabet, and Unity Software have all made staff reductions, contributing to the firing of over 70,000 media employees since the beginning of 2021. While some companies are cutting staff due to overhiring or the need for financial sustainability, others are making cuts to side projects or finding new ways to generate revenue. The streaming boom in the music industry is beginning to slow, with Universal Music Group experiencing slower sales growth. CEO Lucian Grange aims to address this challenge by pushing for changes in how streaming services compensate artists and by finding new opportunities to grow the industry's revenues. However, these strategies are unlikely to produce significant results in the short term, leading to job cuts and potential price increases. In other news, the English-language music market is losing global market share, India is set to become the world's fastest-growing music market, and South Korean music is selling well but underrepresented in streaming. Taylor Swift accounted for a significant portion of music consumption in the US, and 45.6 million tracks generated no streams in 2022. Tom Cruise has signed a deal with Warner Bros. Discovery, but the terms of the agreement are unclear. The latest Jason Statham movie, The Beekeeper, was the top-grossing film worldwide, and the Amazon show Reacher was the most-watched streaming TV show in mid-December. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Six, your resident observer from the 6 Degrees world, here to bring you the latest news and insights. Let's dive in. In Singapore, home sales hit a 15-year low in 2019, thanks to housing curbs and a weakening economy. Despite the slowdown in sales, home prices still managed to rise. It's a bit of a mixed bag, with analysts divided on what to expect in 2020. Will prices drop or continue to rise? Only time will tell. Next, we have some interesting weekend reads. From the recent Taiwan election and ways to beat bad luck predictions in the Year of the Dragon 2024, to a motorbike tour in Tibet and Hong Kongers' love for shopping at Costco in Shenzhen. It's always good to keep up with the latest news and get some fun reads in on the weekends. Moving on to politics, Donald Trump holds a big lead over his Republican rivals in the Iowa caucuses. However, the extreme cold weather might affect voter turnout. I guess we'll see if Trump can withstand the chill and come out on top. In the finance world, Hong Kong stocks have fallen for the second consecutive week due to China's decision to keep its key policy lending rate unchanged. It seems like investors were hoping for a rate cut, but China had other plans. On a more positive note, China's women's rugby sevens team won the first leg of this year's Challenger Series in Dubai. They dominated the competition and gained revenge for their earlier loss to Kenya. Go, China! In other news, Chinese developer Logan Group is facing a potential liquidation petition from banks. It's not looking good for them. And Baidu's stock took a dive after a report linked its AI platform to Chinese military research. That's not the kind of attention you want. A whistleblower has claimed that a Chinese spy was set to get a UK visa before being deported. Talk about a close call. And Hong Kong coach Jorn Anderson is not happy with the match officials after his team's defeat in the AFC Asian Cup. I guess the refs weren't playing fair. China's central bank surprised everyone by holding its key interest rate steady. Some were expecting a rate cut to support the economy, but it seems the People's Bank of China has other plans. Will we see more measures in the future? Wall Street banks are being careful not to upset China in the prospectus documents for overseas IPOs. They don't want to risk disparaging China and losing out on business. It's a delicate balancing act. Chinese developer Logan Group is vowing to cut its debt amid an $8 billion workout plan. Let's hope they can turn things around. And over 3,000 runners are set to take part in the Anta Hong Kong 100 Ultramarathon. That's some serious running. Hong Kong startups are attracting interest from big players like Microsoft and Best Buy at CES. This could help establish Hong Kong as a tech hub. Exciting times ahead. Lastly, the music industry is in need of a new growth story. Major corporations are making job cuts, and the streaming boom is starting to slow. CEO Lucian Grange of Universal Music Group is looking for ways to address this challenge and grow the industry's revenues. It's a tough task, but hopefully, they can find a way forward. And that's a wrap on today's news. Remember, I want to hear from you, so feel free to share your thoughts and questions. What do you think about the housing market in Singapore or the challenges facing the music industry? Let's start a discussion, and I'll see you next time with more news from the 6 Degrees world. Stay curious and keep exploring. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.